Hi. I don't normally mention names, and when I do, it's because I feel it's an important part of the making of the film. But if at any time the people that I'm speaking about or anybody's offended or upset by the direct names that I'm mentioning, please let me know and I'll remove the film, or I'll try to make it right with them. I'd like to mention a very well respected teacher, and he's been on Aikido Journal a while back, Bruce Bookman, and he is I find him interesting because of the way he talks about Aikido and how he's showing applications, and so that made me start thinking about Aikido in different forms, different tiers, we'll say. If my last film I was talking about things evolving, and Sensei took Aikido from many different arts, as we know, and Daitaru was more, I would say, locks and pins and applications rather than the flowing art that we mainly see and do in the dojos. So the way I see Aikido over the years, if you're around long enough to progress, is first the techniques, and the techniques should include pins, locks, locking of joints, and it's more, we'll say, of teaching you how to immobilize somebody, but perhaps better in a fight mode, because there's not many gifted people that start Aikido and carry it on in such a way that they're enlightened from day one. And I know in my case, young man, 23, very strong, powerful in strength, strong in mind, ego, opinionated, male chauvinistic pig, we'll say, all the things that I would perhaps not wish to be thought of now. I'm sure there's other things people think of me that are perhaps not so good either. But so if we take the first level, learn the strict pins and locks, but learn them with an attitude that you can disarm somebody, and perhaps you might even have to look at another martial art to do this. Like I said, Bruce Bookman, you can look him up and see what he says, but he's showing people how to defend themselves with adapting skills, taking skills from other arts, because Aikido really is a complicated art that doesn't really have any, I don't know if it's because it hasn't been around long enough. Does something have to be around 1,000 years before you can say that it's a stable art? Being over 100 years old isn't very old at all, is it? But we don't seem to have any basis, any firm grounding. It's more of a free-for-all, really. Well, that's what it appears to me. I didn't see it this way until I started travelling much further afield than the dojo in Cambridge. When I was a orange belt, I started going, it may have been a yellow belt, but we'll say orange belt. 4th Q, did I then start going to what we called the Mecca, the Hut in Hillingdon in London, near Heathrow Airport. A wooden shack, still there today, renovated, but It was known as the place to go for Aikido. If you didn't come off the mat at the end of class, what the hut is in a pub car park, or sorry, next to the pub car park. It's behind the pub. So after standard practice, after a good hard training, you'd go in the pub and have perhaps 2 pints of beer. These are the days when you could drink and drive because it wasn't so strict. Now, of course, we know we shouldn't have done it, but we did then. I used to drink orange juice, so I was okay. I didn't really like the taste of beer. So when I was, let's say, 24 years of age, I would go to the hut. If I didn't come off, I didn't want to come off with either a half dislocated finger or stamped on toe that might go blue, it might not. Or I may have got a bruise on the cheek where somebody was quick enough to hit me and I was not quick enough to get out of the way. And the reason was they were going to hit me. That was the fun of it. The fun was get Tony, or Tony gets them. So we really were closer to fighting without the anger, but we had all the ego, the want, the desire. So that's pretty close to what we should be wanting to find. And so therefore, it was more real. So the first level of Aikido, as I believe it to be, is the technical stage of hard physical training, where the body does get a little damaged, it hurts. Hopefully nothing gets broken, sometimes it does. These days have gone because of all the correctness. Well, it does in the UK now. We would not be able to train like that. It's not a case of wanting to do it. I'm just telling you how it was. And real fighting skills do get their knocks. You know, you don't go in a boxing ring and put all your padded gear on for nothing. It's so that the boxing can be hard and fast, but without true damage. And in Aikido we don't pad up like that, do we? So the first level is technical, hard, physical training of breaking one's body. I believe that O-sensei mentioned it. First we must fight ourselves. We are the demon of our own making. And by training hard like this on techniques, we slowly break ourselves. It's not that we don't want it anymore, but we evolve. To me, that's evolving. We evolve into a person that starts to see that instead of it being all abruptness and technical, it can flow. And we start to see a flow in our movements. It may not be a great flow, but we try to smooth the edges out. So we're still doing the severe techniques and pins and locks, but we're flowing, we're smoothing out, going from one point to the other. This is the next stage of our involvement, evolving into the next part. We like to see the flow, but if we start to flow too much, we notice with this hard, severe training that we've done earlier, that holes are starting to come in the security of the technique. We're enjoying the flow, we're enjoying the beauty of it, but small weaknesses start to come in. We may be stepping without thinking just in the wrong angle. The spot where we should be didn't seem to matter so much because we were enjoying the flow. But our mind reminds us, if we've had the hard training before, and that we need to go back to basics and look at what we're missing. We're going ahead too quickly into flow. So once we get past the flow, we're starting to make everything more harmonious and more spiritual between us and the attacker. So when Saito Sensei said, Dozer, please go past, he's not just saying, please go past. He's saying, when I'm performing a technique on my attacker, I must not hinder them by being in the way. This means not stopping in a static position, not stopping in front of them. So if you're to do Shihan, do it like water pushing a log down the stream. Do the Shihan at the pace of the flow. Do a Kotegaeshi at the pace of the flow. When coming to meet an Ikkyo, do it at the pace of a flow. Never make it a clash, an abruptness. Make it a flow, a flow. Then we get to many other stages. That's the beauty of Aikido. If somebody gives me a house brick, one brick is really good for a doorstop. Might hold some papers down in the wind or keep on your desk. But I can't build a house with it, can I? I need a lot of bricks to build a house. So this is what you're doing by slowly going through the correct stages, not the stages that your teacher might want you to go through. Well, everybody's in a rush. Everybody wants to get to what O-Sensei had, but nobody wants to put in the time. Gozo Shioda said this. Everybody wants an easier path. They don't realise the path is hard. The path is severe. So if you want to do the different stages, then learn what each stage should be. And you may never get to the ultimate stage. I'm trying to get to the stage of where O-Sensei wanted us to be, and that is the art of peace. Peace within ourselves, really. If you find peace within yourself, you'll find peace when being confronted by others, because you'll be thinking, I don't want to fight you, please go past. And you'll do everything in your ability to let them go past or to diffuse the situation. The last thing you'll want to do is fight. All those techniques won't be necessary, because like O-Sensei said, there's thousands of Aikido techniques in Takemusu Aikido. He said, when you need one, one will be born. And he doesn't really mean a whole Kotegaeshi will come out. It could just be a little press here, or it could be a press on a nerve. It could be a clamp in the throat rather than a push under the chin. It could be a pressure point in the windpipe. You see these, but you won't have to think about it. If you've done enough Aikido and enough techniques, one will be created for you at the appropriate time, but only when you need it. If you have doubt that because you haven't trained in Aikido for many years, then you're lost and you didn't really train correctly in the first place. If you rely on what O-Sensei said, a technique will be born. Takemusu will happen. It will be achieved. But what we have to do is find the enemy within and work out the stages, and then perhaps we can get closer to our senses' real art. Thank you for listening.